moving up, and I am so excited about that. Here we are back again with our part 2 of not guilty but sentenced to life with Ferron and Terrence, known as, I won't say better known because it's not better known, but also known as the Waverly 2. On last Tuesday, we began just to talk a little bit about the situation, and because time got away from us, we were definitely not able to go into the whole conversation. We may not be able to go into the whole conversation tonight, but before we end this conversation, we're going to make sure that people know where they can go and find you all, where they can go and look more about the story, how they can give, how they can be a part of it. We'll do that as we begin to wrap it up for the evening. So thank you all again for joining us. Just to give a little bit, just a little backdrop of what happened, do either one of you all want to just share a little bit of how we got here?
Well, for most that know, me and Ferron, you know, we was real good friends, grew up in Waverly. In 1998, April, you know, Ron and I was accused of shooting and killing a police officer that neither one of us had anything to do with. Neither one of us was even in the area where it happened there. Like, we was in the town, but we was like, he was like at the end of town, I was like in the middle of town. And, you know, and he and I both ended up doing 26 years.
Wow.
Before we was finally able to get out through a clemency from President Biden. So, you know, it was a hard 26 years. You know, and the biggest thing was, like, you know, with both of us, you know, neither one of us had ever been locked up before. So that was like a whole new experience, just getting, as they say, getting thrown in the lion's den. You know, for the first time in your life, and getting a life sentence. They basically just left us to die in prison.
And, you know, to add to that, you know, I had a fear of flying as far as, you know, when they arrested us on the federal side, we had to get on the airplanes and stuff. I'm talking about shackled from the ankles to the wrist, with the black box, and, you know, we had no choice. You were getting on that plane, and I'm talking about they flying so many different places. And like he said, for the first time, you know, I had never experienced it. Guns drawn, it's do what they say. And like I said, it was a horrific experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I can actually say we got the experience firsthand and to get the feeling of how the slaves felt.
Wow.
Yeah. Walking around with the chains and shackles, like you said, like when they transported us, when taking us to court, we had to wear the black boxes. We had to wear them shock boxes on us. Like, people, I mean, it was so crazy. Like, people might see you coming in with a shock box and look at you like, man, what in the world that dude did?
Right.
You know, and this, you know, this how we had to look.
Right.
All for nothing.
All for nothing.
Yeah.
And some of the things we did touch on last week, we was talking about it, was the fact that the state did come and try to offer you all a plea deal or some type of, for the plea guilty. And we were thinking, like, you know, a police officer got shot. When have we ever seen the government want to offer someone a plea deal for a police officer getting shot, knowing the uproar that the community would have or the people would have? This is an officer, and for some reason they wanted to offer you all a plea deal, which you all was like, no, we don't want it. But at the advice of your attorney, felt like this was the best thing to do, because at the end of the day, they were going to pin somebody for this case. Somebody was going to take this charge, and it was going to have to be you all.
Yeah.
Not to mention the death penalty.
The death penalty.
Yeah.
And that's something I think is very important too, because like I was saying, back in 1999, Virginia had one of the most highest death penalty systems in the United States. They were executing people, 14 prisoners in 1999 alone. It was only second to Texas when it came to execution in 1999. So you think about, if you're in a position that you know this is not something that you did, but this is what you're facing. This is the kind of state we live in. And let me just go ahead and get this disclaimer that this is not a reflection of the church. These are, well, my personal opinions, you all's live experience, so it's not a reflection of the church or things that we talk about. But when we think about this system that's pretty much kind of set up against some of us.
Right.
The fact that here you are being accused of something that you had nothing to do with. The prosecuting is saying this. Your lawyer is even suggesting that you all go ahead on and plead this because you'll be out. You know what I'm saying? None of that really makes any sense because a police officer died. But when you think about that you could possibly lose your life.
Exactly.
And Virginia, they were executing at a fast pace.
Yes.
They were not waiting years and years. They were executing here in Virginia at a fast pace. That Virginia was noticed for having some of the shortest times between sentencing and execution, often under 5 years.
Yes. Wow. Yes.
So if you think about it, that within, you know what I'm saying? So we can't say, why would you plead guilty to something that you didn't do if you're not in that situation? I think sometimes we as people want to say, well, I wouldn't do this or I wouldn't do, you don't know what you would do when you are facing something like this.
And the prime example of that, when you get a bunch of these guys out here in the streets, and so supposedly go hard, thugging, whatever you want to call it, and when them people put that pressure on them, they tell on their best friend. Mm-hmm. But the whole time they were saying, I would never do that until they was put right there in that position.
Until they was put right there in that position.
That's right.
That's right. And I know that you were sentenced to like 5 years, but you weren't.
Yeah, no, I did 8 months.
8 months. So you were free when they came back with the federal charge, but you were still incarcerated. Still incarcerated. So how did you feel about being free and then here they come with these charges for you again? I mean, on a federal level, because we know when the feds come, the feds don't be trying to come and play with people from what they say. So how did you feel about now, like you free, but now here come the feds trying to...
Like, you know, I was kind of puzzled because, like you said, I'm free. Mm-hmm. I thought everything was said and done. Mm-hmm. I thought that was the end of it. And now, keep in mind, we still had our state attorneys.
Okay.
At the time that guys were going to the federal grand jury. And I felt, I had an idea that they were trying to, you know, pursue the case. Mm-hmm. The feds were. But I'm thinking more or less they seeking justice. You know, I'm thinking like the feds involved, they gonna do a thorough investigation. They about to prove, you know, we didn't do this.
Right.
And the whole time, they coming at us, you know, and with knowledge of the evidence proving that it wasn't us, you know. So instead of them saying, okay, we're going to do an investigation and prove that the state got it wrong and we going to go after, you know, the person that actually committed the crime, they disregarded all the evidence showing that we had no knowledge of what was going on. So, like I said, at that time, I'm thinking like, you know, we good. They gonna prove that we innocent and we gonna wind up going home. We're gonna be free from this. But when I heard, you know, some of my friends at the time were telling me, you know, they taking us to the grand jury, they asking us questions about your past, and I knew the fix was in at that moment. Mm-hmm. So that's when I got, you know, and like I said, my state attorney, he was kind of like telling me what was going on. He said, man, they're trying to bring up the murder again. He said, but I don't see how they're going to do it because, you know, the federal government didn't have a murder statute. It has to be tied to a drug offense or, you know, some other offense to make that connection, that nexus. And so I was kind of relieved, you know, thinking, okay, I never sold no drugs. So, and we never killed nobody.
Right.
So we ain't had nothing to worry about.
Right.
But if I had known that then, oh my God. I'm telling you, that's a lot to it.
Yeah.
That's a lot to it.
Yeah. And like you say, for two men who didn't have any record prior to this, never, like you had a driving charge or any type of drug charges, and they didn't charge you with any drug charges on the state level. Right. But here come the federal government coming in, because like you said, they can only charge you with the murder if they got some type of, a connection.
Yeah,
So here they come up with two bogus charges
Right.
to make sure that they can make it stick.
Right.
You know, and you think about what was happening behind the scenes, you know, from the state to the federal government, what was happening in that moment, you know.
But like I stated in the last interview that we did with you, I told you it was a federal officer sitting in the courtroom in Sussex, but I didn't know who he was at that time. I didn't realize it until they actually started investigating, and I thought back to then, and I said, "Wow, this is the same federal agent that was sitting in the courtroom the day that we accepted the plea." So, like I said, the fix was in there. You know, man.
So in spite of having those quote unquote witnesses that they brought on the stand, and you know, y'all took a jury trial on the federal case
Yes.
level, right? And the jury found y'all. What did they find y'all guilty or innocent of?
They found us not guilty of the killing of a police officer, not guilty of the use of a firearm, and guilty of conspiracy to distribute 50 grams or more of crack cocaine.
And that was just based on those people that came and
19
said
individuals.
19
Right,
individuals to
right.
come and say it was you. So it's kind of like if you on a jury, because you know some people like, you know, but if you sit on a jury and you got 19 people saying it was you. Not saying it was you, but
Right.
it will cast doubt in people's
Eventually,
minds.
exactly.
Like it ain't everybody can't be lying, but they were.
And you know what was so funny about it? If you go back and look at our transcripts, to even when the people was talking about us selling the drugs, it's like don't nobody's story go together.
Wow.
Like if you look in there, at one point in time, you might hear somebody say, "Oh, I think Terrence was just selling it around the corner." So who did I sell it to?
Right.
You saying that you think I was around the corner selling it, so who did I sell it to?
They had
You
money.
had, as a matter of fact, and I don't know if we brought this up in the last interview, but the same person that the little girl picked out a photo lineup, they used his sister to say that we did it.
Right.
Say
They
that
brought-
again. Hold on. Say that again.
The person that the little girl picked out of the photo lineup,
Right.
right, that she said that she saw that did it, they used his sister to say that we did this.
And was selling drugs.
Wow.
And the killing of the police officer, she said that we was the ones that did that. Now, when she went to the grand jury and they talked to her, she came up with a story and said, "Oh, well, I was getting weed from Mr. Richardson." Then when she came into the courtroom, her story changed and said, "Oh, no, I was getting crack from him." And the lawyer had to say, "Hold up, no, but you said this at the grand jury. Now you came here and said this."
Right.
Because they got to go with what the feds told them to say.
Right.
See, she didn't want to be a part. Originally, I don't want to get off the subject, but originally, she came forward at first, and she was one of the people that stopped the chief of police and told him, "I need to talk to somebody." And he said, "Well, you can talk to me." She said, "Listen, the police is threatening me to say that these two dudes did this." And that was one of the things that Chief Stirrup, you know, testified to himself. That she came and stopped him and told him that the police was threatening her and trying to get her to lie and said that we did it. But eventually the feds got her because she missed a bunch of grand jury hearings. So you know you can get locked up for that, which they did lock up for that. So they jumped out there and told her, "Well, if you don't do what we want you to do, we're gonna take the children from her."
Wow.
So
There she go.
her
And not
whole
only that, you know, some witnesses testified that the police that was investigating the case actually gave her money to come in and, you know, tell different stories.
yeah.
You know, so
And I know the police chief, and when I watched our documentary, a little bit of it, I know the police chief, you know, he didn't blatantly say it, but they hired him, and then not too long
Right.
after the situation, he was fired. So,
Yeah.
you know, you put your own little two to two together about this. This is a African-American man who was the chief of police. Probably the squad were probably Caucasian people.
Yeah.
And, you know, the neighborhood, they were saying in your all's training, the thing I was watching, the documentary, that I guess the community at that time was in an uproar. The black community was in an uproar. So they put this person in place, and now all of a sudden this happens and they don't need him anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So we can just add our own little two and two for that. We're gonna leave that right there. Okay, so now the jury has found you all guilty. Did you have to finish your state time before you
Yes.
got? So you had to do 5 years in the state penitentiary.
Yes, I had to go back, finish the time in the state, and at that time, I think Ron went to Coleman, Florida, because once we got sentenced in the feds, like he had to start going to do his federal sentence. I had to go back to finish the state time, and once I finished the state time, then I had to go to do and start the federal sentence.
Wow. How did that make you feel? I mean, in that moment, knowing it.
It was like he said, like when it did finally come out that the feds was getting involved, I was kind of happy. I even told the lawyer I was kind of happy because I'm like, well, man, they gonna expose Sussex County. This is what I'm thinking. I want them to come because they gonna expose Sussex County. Somebody gonna finally come and show the crookedness that's been going on in Sussex County for many years. But in the end, that's not what they was doing. Mm-hmm. It's like they was Sussex and the feds was collaborating together because they didn't do nothing. Because if they actually went and did their job, there's no way you couldn't have said that me and Ron did it. Mm-hmm. Where was the investigation into the person that the little girl said that she picked out the photo lineup she saw? Where was the investigation into this guy? You the feds. You don't hear nothing about, it's nothing about y'all did nothing with that person. Mm-hmm. Y'all just swept him under the rug. You already got me and Ron right here. Right. So this is what we're gonna make work right here. No matter how many holes in the case, we're going to do the best way we can to patch it up, to make it stick, which that's where the drug charge come in at. Because we know 9 times out of 10, if you put 2 black men in front of a jury and said that they sold drugs, them people going to think that you sold drugs, whether you did or didn't. Because they said, well, that's what we do as a people.
Yeah.
But in the end, guess what? One of the jurors came forward and said if they would have known, well, no, let's take it back. They actually said that they kind of got tired of deliberating and just gave a verdict. They said that they never thought that we was guilty of the murder. Even on the drug charge, it took them a while to actually say that we was guilty of the drugs. Mm-hmm. So it was really like they was like, well, we just gonna give the court something. Because they said out their mouth there, they didn't think that we was going to get that much time. They got tired of deliberating. They just went on and said, well, they guilty of this. They probably don't get a whole lot of time.
But let's hold on for 1 minute right there. That's a point that we need to be mindful of. If you're going to serve on a jury, do your job. Right. Because irregardless of what you assume, you still got somebody's life in your hands. And y'all life was in their hands. And the fact that they just, we're going to get it, it wasn't right. Right. The bottom line, it wasn't right. It's not justifiable whether they thought y'all was gonna get 2 days or 100 years. If the evidence is not there, then we need to say it's just not there.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that from a juror's perspective. If it's a hung jury or we just gonna dismiss it and let the government do what they need to do again, don't play with people's lives.
Right.
Right about that.
Don't play with people's lives.
And it just turned out just like when they seen what happened to us after the fact, and they was like, well, how did they end up getting life? We said they was not guilty of this. That's when they kind of said, well, we would have known that they was going to do this to them. We would have never found them guilty of nothing. This one has come out.
Yeah, but you're not going to know that. You take this position that to be on the jury, take the position. I'm not knocking any of the people on the jury because that was, however, you wouldn't know that.
That's right.
You wouldn't know that. So, but you're here to look at the evidence, and if the evidence is not there, the evidence is just not there. And then one other point that you touched on, and the fact that, like you say, when you see 2 black men, he's selling drugs, we automatically assume that. Right. The stigma around our African-American men, the stigma around us as black people, period, all this negativity, because even in this with the police officer, we're going to assume that it was a black person who shot the police officer. And because they sometimes say we all look alike, it was just better to have somebody, no matter who it is, because even if they didn't shoot him and kill him, they had to be doing something because of the color of their skin. Yeah. And that's some things that we're dealing with right now. We're gonna stay on court. Don't even get me started.
Yeah, but not to go, but just to touch on what you're saying, because did this happen on that Saturday? when they was going around and talking to people, they was investigating everybody that had dreads that day. They were stopping anybody that they saw that had dreads, whether they're long dreads or short dreads. Right. These are the people they were stopping. They weren't stopping nobody with cornrows like I had. Mm-hmm. So how did you come the next day to pick me up when the description was dreads and I got cornrows? Mm-hmm. But the day of the shooting, you were stopping everybody and questioning people with dreads. Mm-hmm. And let me say this out, and I really want to point this out too.
Yeah.
Ron might not have even been in prison. And you know why I said that? A lot of people don't know that they came to Petersburg to pick up one of our other homeboys for this. Right. The only thing that saved him was his job said that he was at work that day. So if his job couldn't have verified that he was there, Ron would have never been in prison. It would have been him. So it showed you they was on a witch hunt, just picking anybody up. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't even realize that even happened in this case. If his employers wouldn't have said that he was at work that day, they would have snatched him up and Ron would have never been in prison. Mm. But they knew all us hung together. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they just want to hold any black man accountable for the death of a white police officer.
Yep.
Which don't make sense.
Right. Did you have to surrender right then when they found you guilty, or were you able to? Did they give you all the time right then? Did you have to come back to get sentenced?
Oh no, because we was already in custody before the trial started.
On the federal level?
Yeah.
You was in custody?
Oh yeah, because I told you they had that bogus conspiracy.
Okay.
And they had initially charged me with, in the original indictment, by myself in the conspiracy. They didn't even have nobody to charge me with. So they held me on the bogus indictment just to get us to trial for the murder of the police officer. So,
yeah, so, and I want people to really focus and look at us when we just said what he just said. They had him on a conspiracy by himself. I wasn't even a part of the conspiracy as far as how they indicted him. Now it said it takes
two or more.
It said it takes two or more for them to even bring a conspiracy. At this time, they have him in a conspiracy by himself. Now, when Ron wouldn't lie, that's when they came and said, well, okay, we're going to make sure we backdoor you anyway. So now they come up and supersede it, add the murder. Now they come to me, give me the drug charge and the murder. Now when we go to trial, guess what? It's only two of us conspired, but you got all these people said that they supposedly gave us drugs or whatever, but there's nobody charged in the conspiracy but me and him. When have anybody ever seen some people charged with a conspiracy where there ain't a bunch of people charged in a conspiracy together? Mm-hmm. The only two charged in the conspiracy is me and him.
On separate dates. Now keep in mind that 19 individuals were charged from 2000. Mm-hmm. Their conspiracy was sometime in 2000. But the alleged conspiracy that they charged me and Terrence with was from 91 to 98.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So how much sense does that make?
It does.
You got two people in a conspiracy. Nobody else is charged in the conspiracy. But you got everybody coming in and said they was selling drugs, this and the third, but me and him the only two in the conspiracy.
Yeah.
Wow. Whew. Yeah. Okay.
And hold up, but and I gotta look at this, right? And it's a period of the conspiracy. It's a period of some years in the conspiracy where they consider or use the term unknown.
Unknown dates.
Unknown.
On or about unknown dates. So if you don't know exactly when these alleged drug deals occurred, how can I even defend myself? How was that even a fair trial? Mm-hmm. You just wait until we go to trial, and you bring in people to say on this date or around about this date, this occurred. But you don't even know this until the trial date. You don't know what days they're talking about until you actually go to trial.
You know, and it's just awful that 19 people would just literally get up there and lie. And lie to ruin somebody else's life, to be being accountable for what you did. Like if you did what you did in the streets, where your charge, where your own stuff. But Once you tell one, you got to constantly tell another lie and another lie
Right.
and another lie and another lie. So I can only imagine what it was like for them on the stand, because you're lying anyway, but you got to constantly tell other lies. And that bothers me as people, that we will sell out innocent people
Right.
to save ourselves, even though we may have done something that was wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, where's our conscience? Where's our mindset when you? Okay, we're gonna leave it there for a minute. That just got me. We got to be careful of the company that we keep in and who we call our friends
And that's true.
who we say our associates. Because for them to go into this little small town of Waverly and go get 19 people that come and testify against you all, it really, you know.
And you know what's so bad about it? You will have some of them people that went in there and lied on us, that they will actually ask somebody, man, how they doing? How we doing? We in prison to die. What you mean, how we doing?
And not only that, the law states that you can't even pay an informant, to come in and testify. But in the feds, when you're actually locked up on a crime, which is worth more, your freedom or money? You saying because you giving this guy a lenient sentence to come in and testify against somebody in return, for a sentence reduction, that's paying a witness.
That's exactly what it is.
Giving him motive to come in and lie with you. Yeah, whether it's true or not.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I said it don't even make sense. So how can you say you can't pay a witness to testify against somebody else? But you can give them a sentence reduction. Yeah, so I feel as though the money is less valuable than freedom when you're locked up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So let me ask you, when they found you all not guilty on the murder charge, but guilty on the drug charge, how was you thinking? Like, what kind of time did you all have in your mind that you were looking to get or would get? I know you didn't think you were getting no life.
Well, I'm gonna say this: the drug conspiracy carried 10 to life,
Okay.
and like you said, we never had priors.
Right.
You know what I mean? The record was clean. So I'm under the impression that, and at that time, the 10 was mandatory. So
you would have had to do 10 regardless.
at least had to do 10 regardless. So I'm thinking, I was going to get anywhere from 10 to 12 years.
Right.
And this one I realized that wasn't going to happen, because they rescheduled our sentence about 3 times. The sentencing date about 3 times. And when we went into the courtroom, when we came into the courtroom, I noticed that the police officer's family was still sitting in the courtroom. And I'm thinking, like, not only his family, it was like 30 police officers in uniforms, standing up against the wall, staring at me and Terrence. And when we walked in, I just felt it. I said, yeah, something ain't right. Something ain't right. And his family was smiling. He was sitting up on the front looking at us smiling, like, the fix is in. And we gonna see this. And when we walked in, like, it was a lot. It was a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the other crazy part about it, which, a lot of people don't know the workings of how the feds calculate sentences and stuff. You got what's called a PSI, and you have like an officer that's over your PSI. Like, these people come to see you, and they the ones that kind of like calculate
Which
your time.
stands for a pre-sentence report.
Okay.
So they kind of the ones that like really like calculate your time and tell you, look, they do it and they give it to the lawyer.
Okay.
And then they kind of calculate what your sentence would be. Now, this PSI person, they was calculating our time to that with 12 to 14, 14 to 16 years. It was the prosecutor that came back and argued against us getting that time to give us a life sentence. The prosecutor did that. The prosecutor was the one that came in and said, well, no, we want to use this law, which was United States versus Watts, which was going to enhance our sentence to the life sentence, off of what was called acquitted conduct, meaning that they could use the charges that we was acquitted of through the jury to enhance our sentence, and that would carry our sentence to a life sentence.
Yep. And not only that, the probation officer stated in his report that the cross-reference, the acquitted conduct law didn't even apply to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't even apply to us.
So we kind of, at that time, we kind of went through a period of law where basically the prosecutor got anything he wanted. So if the prosecutor asked for it, they was gonna get it. And you know how basically down in that was when the lawyers come to you and telling you that, man, you know, they trying to give you a life sentence. And you like, what you mean they trying to give us a life sentence? Hey, give me a life sentence. Well, you know, it's a law out that they can do this. It's called a cross-reference, and the case deals with acquitted conduct that they can use these charges. I said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, what good was the jury? I said, the jury said we would not get. I said, so basically, y'all still getting us for murder. You're not really hitting us for no drug. You still giving us the murder, really. This is what y'all sending us to life of real. I mean, the drug charge carriers tend to life, but really you still sending us for the murder.
Yes.
But it goes right back to what they told Ron, said, we're going to backdoor you anyway.
Yeah.
And that's what they did.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did.
And as I said, at that time when they used that case, we was the second case ever done in the federal system. And we actually ran into the guy that was the first dude, Danny.
Oh,
he was the first one that they did that to. We was the second one that was ever done like that in the feds.
Wow.
And what's even crazier, the same prosecutor, you know, that prosecuted the case, you know, despite all the evidence showing we had nothing to do with the murder, you know, he knew that the cross-reference didn't apply to us. As soon as we got prosecuted, as soon as we got convicted and sentenced, don't you know they made this man a judge now?
Yeah, a magistrate judge.
He's
a
a
magistrate
magistrate judge, but now he's a district court judge.
Yeah.
And you got all this corruption, you know, embedded in your blood, and you sitting here ruling on guys' cases. You know what I mean? So, you know, and I know that this situation is way bigger than us.
It is.
I mean,
It is. And you know, and that's why, like, you know, I know Ron probably know a little more on the law than me. You know what I'm saying? Both of us, you know, was dealing in the law, but it just kind of show you, like, people don't realize, like, how bad the law really is. You know, and it's crazy because they just supposedly changed the use for the courts being able to use the acquitted conduct just before we was coming home. So we still didn't. It was some things that was in play for us to use that law, but it was crazy because in the small print, they still, even though they were saying that it was wrong, unconstitutional to use that acquitted conduct, they still had in small print that in unusual circumstances, they could still use it.
So
even though they said it was wrong to use
it's unconstitutional, however,
Right.
it's still discretionary.
Right.
Yeah. So if the judge want to give it to you, he could still give it to somebody.
Wow.
And I got to explain this one too, right? In our case, the prosecutor had to come forward, and they was going through like a discussion in our case, because when you go to the law of the law enforcement officer, it was the prosecutor came back and said that we was actually sentenced under second-degree murder. But the statute that they are taking us to give us the life sentence was first degree. So how did you go up if we was charged with second degree, but the statute you using that's gonna give us an automatic life sentence is first degree?
But not only that, keep in mind, we acquitted of the second degree offense.
Yeah.
Then when we go for sentence, you enhance it using the
First degree.
murder.
A first degree cross reference.
Something that we was never charged with, something that the jury never heard. You know what I mean? So that goes totally against the Sixth Amendment. I mean, your right to a fair jury trial.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
we disregarded all that.
All right.
Yeah.
So now you all are incarcerated. You got this life sentence. What was that like for you all? And I really would like for us to touch just a little, if you don't mind, just emotionally, what it did to you all. And if we got to cry, we're going to all cry together. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't think people understand for someone to be held accountable for something they didn't do. And now, like, you're looking at spending the rest of your life in prison. The rest of your life in prison. So what did it do for you all emotionally? I know you never gave up hope because you're free and we thank God for that. But what did you all do to maintain that hope? What did it do to you emotionally, spiritually?
Right.
You know.
Well, I'm gonna be honest, and I'm putting this out there for a lot of the younger guys, you know, that may be in a similar situation. Man, these people, we already know they don't care. To add to that, you know, when you're incarcerated at these facilities, and they do so many things to distract you. They give you basketballs. They give you baseballs. You know, anything for you to not focus on what you need to be focused on.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, and I kind of fell into that, you know, because I was young when I went in. I'm playing basketball. I'm communicating with my family. And, you know, I was keeping hope alive.
Right.
Okay, well, yeah, they just passed the law. So, yeah, I'm about to come home. And you put that appeal in. Once you appeal your case, denied. And this process, the appeal process, it takes 3 and 4 years. You know, and a judge can sit on your case. I done seen guys waiting to be heard on the appeal 10 years just to be denied. You know what I mean? So once you put that appeal in, okay, now I got hope. I feel like they're gonna do the right thing. So I'm gonna play basketball. I'm gonna do all this extra stuff they want you to do. You know what I mean? While you kind of like lose focus on what you need to focus on. So, you know, I said that to say you can't get caught up into that nonsense. You got to focus on what matters. You know what I mean? Like, especially when you're incarcerated, your freedom is everything. So you got to get into them libraries. You got to study, and you can't just depend on your lawyer to tell you, you know, what you want to hear. You gotta do what matters. You gotta do what matters.
Yeah, and you know, I always tell people it's crazy. Like, you know what the last movie I saw before I left the street? I always tell people this: Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence's life, and me and him ended up just like it. The last movie I seen, and that's what always get me emotional. And we came out just like them. We didn't come out as old as they was, but we came in our 20s. We coming out, I'm in my 50s. He's late 40s. Same situation. You going in for something you ain't do, and you fight like heck to get out of there. You know, and that's why, like he said, like, you go in there and you get caught up on a lot of stuff, and you really don't. And a lot of times, you really don't have a lot of guys that's really telling you, man, you need to go. You know, guys might tell you here and there to go to the law library, but a lot of the guys doing the same thing you doing. It was one day, me and a guy, a good friend of ours, Sco, we was always in the same unit, and him and Ron had did a lot of time together too. And we sat around one day and just looked around the unit of how many people was actually in there fighting their case. It's 130 people in this unit. It was probably about 15 of us that was fighting our case in there. Out of 130 people. Everybody else was sitting back like this, doing 40, 50, 60 life sentences, looking at TV.
Yeah.
Ain't even going to a law library. You sitting there. Ain't doing nothing. And a lot of people get caught up in there. And that's like the bad part. Like I said, like, them people sentenced us, I ain't know what to do. I mean, to hear them people hit down, and you might hear it on TV and movies, but to sit right there and just hear them people say life, knowing that there's no parole or nothing in the feds.
And I remember when we got sentenced, when we got found not guilty of the murder, I remember like it was yesterday. The police officer's family was crying, screaming. I'm talking about like carrying on all types of, they were emotional.
Right.
The judge didn't say one word. When me and him went to get sentenced, when he said life, and I tell you, the family, the police officer's family smiled. But when our family got emotional, I can remember that judge telling them, order in my courtroom. If you couldn't take it, you shouldn't have came in here.
Yeah, he definitely did. He definitely did.
If you couldn't take it, you shouldn't have came in the courtroom. But it was okay for his family, the white side, to, show that emotion.
And not only that, but it was some one day because Ron dad used to come and see me. Ron hadn't made it to Petersburg yet. He was still at Hazen. And man, one day his dad came in and that kind of really made me break down. Like, his dad was like telling me, he said, man, before I let these people kill my son, he said, I'll grab my son and I'll run and I'll jump out the window with both of us. He said, I'll take his life. And that was a hard thing to sit there and hear him say. Because that's his baby boy, one of his baby boys. That, he had other brothers younger than him, but you know what I'm saying? From his mom, his two sisters, that was baby boy. Talking about my son, life sentence, 22, 23 years old.
So let me ask you. So when did y'all get the what's the lawyer you all have? I didn't write his name.
Jared Adams.
Jared. When did he come into the play with for you all?
16.
About 2016.
Yeah,
2016.
Yeah.
And like we were saying, he went through a similar situation.
Okay.
Where he was wrongfully convicted.
Okay.
And I think he failed around the same time we did, 1998.
Okay.
My aunt Mary, love her to death. Thank you, Aunt Mary.
Thank you, Aunt Mary.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Definitely.
She found him.
Okay.
She had been doing a lot of research. She had looked through a lot of paperwork, and she knew from day one that we didn't commit that murder.
Right.
So she was determined. She was telling me, we getting older. I want to see y'all come home before something happened, because we had lost a lot of people during the course of being locked up. So she did her research. She took some paperwork to him. I think he was speaking at a convention somewhere. I don't know the exact location, but when she found out that he was going to be there, she took the paperwork. She said something in her heart told her to go, and seek this man. And so she went there. She heard him speak. And once it was over, she made it her business to approach him and hand him that paperwork. And keep in mind, during the time that this was happening, I had some sisters. They was, our family, everybody was pushing. So everybody was doing what they could do. So my sisters were trying to encourage me to not deal with the guy that my Aunt Mary found, because they was talking to the guy, McKeechin.
Yeah.
Rest his soul, when they was, they had his hope in him, thinking, he was going to do something. But my uncle was telling me, he said, hey, this is y'all lives. Y'all got to make this decision. You in there with a life sentence. What harm would it be to get more help? So once I found out that that guy was incarcerated too, and he went through a similar situation, my aunt was telling me, and it made all the sense in the world. She said, why not get somebody that can relate to what you're going through?
Definitely.
Because he had been through the same thing. And when she said that, let's get.
Yeah, and I ain't gonna lie. When I watch our documentaries, the snippets, and I'm gonna tell people go back and watch it on YouTube. We're gonna share all that before we close out. His voice was like own it from the very beginning. And the first thing, like I said on our last thing, he said that all the things that have advanced, we have not advanced in our criminal justice system. That was the first thing he said. That just captivated my attention, because that was the first thing he said as he went into sharing you all's story and talking about the documentary and things. And he was just the strength in his voice. You know what I'm saying? The determination, like you said. Everybody haven't lived this experience, but somebody who has been in this experience is going to be able to have more compassion and understanding and go super hard for people because he's been in that situation. And he did an excellent job. So go back on YouTube and watch the documentary as well. So in 2017, he did an interview, I want to say with Channel 8 News.
Yes.
He did an
and we really got to give them their props, especially Kerry O'Brien, because before we got Jared, Mr. Adams, Kerry O'Brien was the first to really reinvestigate our case and really reopen our case for us.
She was an investigative reporter.
Yeah,
Okay.
so she really was the first to really reopen the case and put it out on the news. She actually had we actually had a 2-night special on TV8 News.
Okay.
And she was actually nominated for an Emmy behind our case back
Wow.
then.
Yep.
Wow. So in 2017, Mr. Adams is doing the interview and he's out here talking about it. Did you all feel hopeful around that time when he really got into it? Did it just motivate you? I know y'all ain't just sit back and let him do the work. Of course you all, did y'all probably do. Did that bring some hope and motivation when he got into the case for you all?
It was like,
definitely.
You finally got a voice.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like you actually keep filing the emotions yourself now.
Right.
You actually got somebody out on the streets. He trying to rally up the troops, as they say. He trying to get people behind us. And I really tell you, the biggest thing for us that he did is when he put this stuff online.
Right.
To give a bunch of other people the chance, not just in Waverly, but to reach out and let a lot of different people
Made a difference.
see our situation.
Mm-hmm.
Our situation made it so far that we had an NBA player during COVID, a guy named Javon Carter. He was playing for the Phoenix Suns at the time. They was playing in the bubble. He went out there, he had on a white shoe and a black shoe, and me and Ron's name was on that shoe.
And they zoomed in. So I said, that was some big
Yeah, that was big.
So
That was big.
him putting that stuff online,
made a difference.
it made a big difference.
Now, I can't say that, like now he family. Jared, he definitely family. When I tell you, me and him, we stayed button heads because I thought I knew the Lord.
Okay.
And I'm asking him, how you gonna tell me to stop fighting when you fought?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I didn't want to hear none of that. Man, listen, I know the law says this. The law says this. I need you to push this.
Mm-hmm.
He started telling my family, man, listen, y'all got to calm him down. He needs to sit down and relax and let me, take the back seat. Let me drive.
Mm-hmm.
And when I tell you, it took about a year or 2 years for the family to convince me,
Mm-hmm.
to take the back seat. And I'm going to tell you, I'm glad I got back there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if I had to, and I want to say, that was God's way of just using everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it wasn't Jared alone. It wasn't my aunt discovering him. It wasn't us just remaining hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
God did it all. You know what I mean? That was his plan.
Amen.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I definitely want to say glory to God.
Amen. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Because he ain't joking, boy. Like, it was times, man, when we in there on the phone conference, boy, and the counselor had to come on there and say, boy, what's your noise?
Calm down.
Calm down.
Calm down. I wasn't trying
So,
to hear it.
but I'm going to tell you, and I feel this pain because, and I'm going to tell you why I know why he felt the impatience at times.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was so many guys that we had done so much time with that had life sentences right there with us that was starting to get them laws and going home, and we were still there.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of get you at times. You be like, damn, man, you want to see them go home, but then it's like, but then you be like, damn, we ain't even do nothing. We still here. We ain't got the law yet. You know what I'm saying? So it makes you impatient when you seeing that. Because we've been at spots at times, like when I was at Lee County, you probably see no more than 3 or 4 people go home a year. Right. But when you get to places like Petersburg, it's 20, 30 people going home every day. Yeah. You know, and like I said,
you see them come back. We sat there so long, I done seen guys leave, go home, and they'll come back in 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, when I see a revolving door, that's what they expect of the system.
Before time get away from us, you all, we're going to give y'all some information where you can go back and, look a little more into the story, get a little more information because time is already wrapping up for us. But a couple of things I want to touch on before we do so y'all can share where people can go follow the case, what's next, what we need to do. That in 2017, your lawyer did some interviews for you all. But in 2021, Mark Hearn took a look at the case, and he was our attorney general here at that time on the state level, and he found that there was a lack of evidence and the case should have been dismissed in totality. This is Mark Hearn in 2021. Then in 2022, Jason Myers take office and reverse the prior administration's outlook on it. So here we have a Democratic attorney general that looks at the case. This is 2021, so you all have been there for at least a decade and some change by this time. He looks at it in 2021 and said there's nothing there, this should be dismissed. But in 2022, Jason Myers come in and say no, reverse that prior. And it just really it really just shows the mindset of how they label us and feel like it's not even worthy to go look into. And that's kind of hurtful. But in 2025, and I want to ask, this is the reason why you're home, because then President Joe Biden commuted your sentence.
Yes.
And what that means is that it's a substitution of a lesser penalty for the original one, reducing the punishment severity of duration. It is a form of like a clemency that shortens a prison sentence or converts it to time served, often leading to the immediate release through the conviction itself remains on the record. Which is, I know you would be happy to come home, but this conviction is still on your record. Right. So the barriers that still you all face.
Right.
It's hard for convicted felons to get a job, to get a house, you know what I'm saying? So now you all have to vote. Yeah. So it's like, I'm free, but I'm not free.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And my thing is that, it's tough wearing the burden of that black cloud, when you know that you haven't did something.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's even worse looking at it from, how the system is ran. And meaning, how is it that, I'm a convicted felon? I can't vote.
Right.
But the president.
Don't get us.
Right.
34 kids.
Right.
And he can become a president. And then to go a little further, during the time that we was locked up, I'm witnessing white police officers killing black men, black women, with body cam. They got footage. And they're being exonerated. They're being exonerated for actually, for these crimes.
Yeah.
But here it is, 2 black individuals, 2 black men. We get found not guilty for a crime that we didn't commit.
Right.
But yet still y'all give us a life sentence.
Yeah.
But that's just to give you a broader perspective on how this corruption, like people, we gotta wake up.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Real,
yes.
A lot of people don't care until it happens to them.
Yeah.
But they have to realize that we could be your nephew, your brother, your uncle, your cousin, your friend, or whatever. Like, we got to stick together, man, in order to make this thing work. Yeah. It's going to take unity.
Yes.
It's definitely take unity.
Yes.
Believe me, in a million years, we would have never thought this happened to us. So it could come at any time. You know what I'm saying? Right. So You know, you got to, and that's why, like when he was saying earlier, these younger guys out here in the street and some of these women that's trying to be out here towards the gang stuff and everything, man, y'all got to understand what you getting into. Like, these laws are not made for you.
That's right.
You know, I remember, not to put too much time, but I remember when they was first trying to pass these like RICO laws. And we seen it in the newspaper. And we actually cut that newspaper out and we sent it back out here towards Richmond. Me and a guy I was real cool with, we sent it back out to Richmond and tell the guys, said, listen, this is what they about to do to y'all. You know, y'all might just be in the hood. You not a gang. I said, but they about to label y'all as a gang. I said, how they gonna get y'all is they are putting you under a RICO. And once you under that RICO, basically they saying if Ron was to commit this murder, they can charge all of us with the murder because they gonna say all of us knew that Ron committed this murder.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And that's why these guys got to wake up. They did it to lock more of us up. That's all that was about.
That's what it's about.
To get more people off of the street.
More black people.
And we already know what's going to come down with it. You're going to have guys that are going to start telling, they're going to do all of this. But let me say something to them guys too, for real.
Go ahead.
It's not going to be as easy as y'all think it is when you get in that prison. I'm going to keep it 100 with you. Because me and Ron been in some spots, right, that when you get on that yard and you done told on somebody, and I know we in the church, but some of them dudes will put a knife in you soon as you get there. Especially if some of them already know that and got the word that they kind of know that you already did this. So some of these dudes that's doing that, you don't get away scot-free. Even though the feds is over a lot of states, it's easy for them people to get that information crossed to another prison. And people be waiting on you soon as you get there. Because they going to ask you about that paperwork. They want to know if you done told on somebody. As soon as you get on the compound, they going to call you to the yard to ask you, listen, what's up with you? So it's not as easy as dudes think it is when you get in there. This is the life you got to live now. You know what I'm saying? This is a hard life, like I said, with me and him coming from guys just hanging out, having fun, partying, enjoying it, family, like me, him, his sisters, all of you to hang out, go to clubs and stuff. Then you going straight into, like I said, the lion's den to where dude come up to you, take this knife. You're like, knife? Yeah, take this knife. Yeah, you got to protect yourself in here. Anything can jump off at any time. He go and get into something. I ain't got no choice but to go. I can't say, no, I'm not going. Because guess what will happen if I say I ain't going? They come and get me after that.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to go. If he go, I got to go. So you get here, you go 50, 60 people on the yard, they just ready to go to war. So it's not as easy as these guys think it is when you go into prison. You know what I'm saying? This gonna be, you know, you might be doing what you do in the street, but like I said, you playing with a gun in the street. Then you talking about something you playing up in person. Because you can't take that knife and throw it at nobody, they ain't gonna do that. No, you got to go, we going head to head. And this what it is. This a whole different life. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? Like that's hard for people to go in there and you go from, like I say, going in the country where a lot of this stuff been happening, you going in here and then you seeing people dying right beside you. Or you walking past and here go a dude getting stabbed to death.
They had put me in one of the worst prisons on the East Coast, Hazleton, West Virginia, in the mountains. And when I tell you, every day, all day, and then again, we already in prison for something we didn't do. So if this guy killed somebody, everybody get punished. So now, on top of being here for something that I didn't do or we didn't do, now we in prison being punished for something that we didn't do. Mm-hmm. So any decision that he makes, it affects
everybody. Yeah, it affects everybody.
Yeah.
So our time is almost up at 6:50. Where can we go? What's next? What is it that you need from us, the community, the people? Where can we go and read more about this story? Where can we go and watch the YouTube videos? What do you all have going on? Are you selling clothes? We got some books get ready to drop. Like I said, they came home, you know, as a convicted felon, so they learn so much stuff that they can go and have to work for themselves. So they are entrepreneurs. So we got some clothing line. We got, y'all tell them what it is and how we can go and follow this story because our time is running out. But I want us to, for those who are watching on the sanctuary, just want to get a little more insight or may want to contribute to the cause or may want to stay up to speed with what's going on. Just give us a little quick synopsis of where we are today.
I wrote one book called The Reality of Fiction.
Okay.
And, I touched bases on it a little bit in the last interview. It pertained to, like, the corruption, like a lot of the things that I spoke on. Mm-hmm. But it was written from, my perspective and, based on, from my mental. It wasn't true events.
Right.
But they were true events.
I understand.
You know what I mean? So I wrote from that angle. And me and Terrence did a book. It's called Not Guilty, Sentenced to Life. That should be out in another week or so.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Okay.
We just changed the book cover. And, I think his daughter, she just redesigned it. And I'm telling you, she did a wonderful job.
It is. It's on our Facebook page. So if anybody want to go back and look at it, you can do some pre-orders on Amazon. The book is going to be on Amazon. You may have some hard copies that we can call you. Can we call you up and say, I need a book?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
And if need be, we'll bring it to you.
Okay.
We will deliver it.
Okay.
So, and then you can also follow the documentary that she spoke on. You can go to Not Guilty _Serving Life. When I tell you, it's very interesting because there's a lot of stuff that we haven't covered here.
I know.
That y'all need to tune into, and it's very interesting. I think y'all should follow it. I think y'all should go see it.
Tell us one more time where we can go and look at the documentary.
It's Not Guilty _Sentenced to Life. Serving life.
Serving life.
And you also have a Facebook page, correct? We gonna follow you on Facebook.
Ferron Claiborne, that's the Facebook page. I'm currently working on the website for the clothing line. So everything is a process. We do have clothes available now, and we'll have links for those soon.
Okay. And lastly, I know that you all went before the Supreme Court in Virginia here, correct? Are you all waiting for a verdict from them, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, we
As much as you can share with us.
Well, we appealed their decision. They had denied us, so we appealed it. So now we're waiting for the decision on that right now.
Okay.
So we still in the fight.
Okay. Well, if y'all fight, we all fight, because we ain't gonna have this. So we thank you all. We want to thank those who joined us here in the sanctuary. This is part 2 for us. If you wasn't able to go back and wasn't able to see part 1, you can go back from last week. We had to break it down into 2 series, and we still haven't been able to talk about all that is there. So that's why we say go to the YouTube. It's Not Guilty _
Sentenced to Life.
Sentenced to Life. Serving Life. It's a 4-part. The document is it's not long. There's a lot of information there. There's a lot of links in there. If you want to donate to the cause to be able to help them continue doing what they're doing. We want to stay up to speed to what's happening, because we don't want this case just that y'all talking about and we just moving on to the next. Like he said, we really need to be all on one accord and in unity with each other for our people. So we just want to thank you all for joining us. Go ahead.
And it also is a GoFundMe set up as well.
Okay.
Was it Life After? No, it's on the I think
it is on y'all thing.
Yeah.
It's on it _, because I saw that, and there's a lot of information and some other little links down in there that you can go back and read more about it. Leave comments. It was worth it. It was real good. And I went back and I looked at it myself. It's only like 4-part series, very informative. Left me with a lot of questions. But I thank you all, and I'm thankful to God that you all are free. It may not be free always, but who the Son sets free is free indeed. So we thank God for you all being able to come home and be reunited with your family, your loved ones, and we just gonna be with y'all in this fight as we continue on with you all.
And we appreciate you. And I also want to tell y'all to stay tuned, because we have an interview coming up with Dateline, and I think that's supposed to be within the next 60 days.
Okay.
So we're gonna definitely let y'all know, when the exact date is, because I would love for y'all to tune in, and because like I said, it's a lot more.
It's a lot more.
Yeah.
It's a real lot more. But
And
again, thank you for those who joined us here in the sanctuary, Facebook Live, and we on YouTube now, y'all. So we moving on up.